Hello and welcome back to Strong Woman High's Dash Life is a Mishmash. Today we have very special guest and physio, Desi Gillespie.
Whoop, whoop.
Been waiting to get you on the podcast for ages, haven't we?
Yep, I can chatter all day long with whatever you want.
No, perfect. So, do you want to give a little elevator pitch to everybody to let them know who you are, what you're all about, all that sort of jazz?
I am Desi Gillespie. I am normally an under 73 kilo strong woman, but float around at 82s depending how many cookies I eat. I've probably competed in most leagues. I've always had a double, so I've gone from OSG, Ultimates, UCAN, SB, and SF. Tried them all, had all the experiences. And alongside, I am a physio, and most people know me as well at Holistic Strength Coaching as team physio.
Hell yeah. How long have you been competing for? You've been competing for a long time, haven't you?
I actually I think 2017 is when I started, which seems ages ago now, like the old lady of strong women.
You're pulling up to that 10-year mark there, aren't you?
I know, it's crazy. But I really don't think I became a real strong woman until after the pandemic. And then suddenly I was like, oh my God, I can lift. For some reason, lifting, squatting my backpack and textbooks in lockdown suddenly made me really strong. So not sure what happened, but maybe that was the secret to it.
I feel like a lot of people, I feel like I did that. I think because there was nothing else to do in COVID. Loads of people just trained, didn't they? And then you come out of COVID like, oh shit, we're actually quite good at this.
You say that, it was the busiest working time, but I think I just, again, NHS shock horror was really busy. But I would get home and be like, okay, I've got 1 hour, what can I do? So backpacks and lunge away down the canal or something like that. And yeah, worked a treat.
That's
thinking,
awesome.
I'm going to lose all my gains because I've got no deadlift bar. See all these people like stealing stuff from the gym of actual weight. And I think my heaviest thing was 12 kilos. I was like,
oh my God.
What is that going to do? I'm going to come back like a weed. But no, it did the trick.
Perfect. So that's what we like to hear. That's what we like to hear a lot. Cool. So, well, do we just want to get straight into it then? I'm sure we'll go off on tangents because we always do, don't we? So what has been your strong woman high then, Desi?
So I'm going to be greedy, probably like other people as well. I've got two. So as a physio, I worked for GB Sports with athletes. And I think my goal has always been to represent GB myself as an athlete. I absolutely love, obviously, supporting people, but you feel like you don't have control when you're in the back room, just hoping they do what they can. Yeah. And I think that's where, as I said, my goal was I want to be that person at the front and I've got control almost of the outcome. So in 21, I qualified for the Whale Worlds over in Finland. And that was kind of my moment when what felt like the worst Brits comp. And I think I was like, oh no, I'm against such strong people. I'm just going to cruise along. But that consistency paid off. And then, yeah, Finland was the big one for me where actually getting to wear the GB badge, for a better word. So that was definitely one of my biggest highs. But I think because that was my long-term goal in my head.
Yeah.
And then it seems silly now, but for me, 200 deadlift was the aim. And back in early strongwoman, that was like the golden club. Now it's added on 100 kilos, but we won't go near that. So at the Arnold push-pull, I managed my first 200, which to me was like, I've made it. Even though like 10 minutes later I got 210, but I was like, nah, I've got the 200. That's what I wanted.
Yeah.
So I would say they are definitely my highs, those little goals. And I'm still in the process of making ones just as big as those.
Absolutely. I think you're never finished with this sport, are you? There's always goals to achieve. There's always places to go with it. So I think that's really cool. But yeah, the 200 kilo deadlift, that is sound. And I think as well, like I feel very similar because when I got my first 200, I was like, oh my God. And then I pulled 210 about 2 weeks later and I was like, nah, I don't care about that. The 200 was more exciting than that. But it's funny how we have certain numbers in our head that we have to hit. And 200 was huge.
A nice round number.
Yeah, just 5 years ago, 200 kilo deadlift was massive for a woman, wasn't it?
And now it's we're to Andrea C getting 12 in a minute. It's like, oh, okay, so that's not quite as but well, yeah,
100%. Because now, like back in the day, you could win a max deadlift event with a 200 kilo deadlift. Like 5-6 years ago, that would be the top deadlift at a national level. Maybe not internationally, but definitely nationally. Whereas now, that's what like weight classes are repping. Yeah, it's repping for weight classes now, isn't it? Which is just mad how fast the sport's progressed. Tell me a little bit more about your journey to WIA Finland then. How did you get involved with that? How did you start with all of that?
Well, probably getting into strongwoman, I was actually doing CrossFit, and one of the events was stone to shoulder. So I was like, I have no idea how to do this. So I walked into a strongman gym and I was like, how do I put this on my shoulder? On the day, it ended up being a slam ball, so I didn't really need to, but it was what actually got me into the real sport. And then I've always worked, as I say, with national governing bodies, so that's kind of what's helped me is making sure that I stay in kind of the leagues where the WADA anti-doping happens, because that's probably been the harder part in my job, having to do the anti-doping stuff as a clinician, and then that's where I compete in it as well, even though I do compete in all the leagues. That is why I made sure I stayed in kind of the BNSF and WEA. So that first year, it was a bit of a mad story, because actually England's, I ended up coming fourth and then somehow getting invited to Brits, because I think it was to like make up numbers, as it happens. But then it's one of those, if you keep consistent on the day, and that's how it made it to Finland in COVID time. So that was one of those really challenging, like, I know we don't talk about that C word anymore, but I remember having to like plan around work to do telephone clinics, because you're on lockdown when he came back. Didn't know if I'd make it home for Christmas, because it was the weekend before Christmas as well. But probably one of the best experiences, I think, for myself, in terms of, it was such a big highlight for me.
Yeah.
It was meant to be like a 2-day comp, but because of, again, restrictions, they said, I think it was 7 events in one day, which that was harsh.
Oh God, that
But
sounds terrible.
yeah, it was really good fun. And I
Yeah.
think they were saying, like, we had a sandbag max distance, and they're like, oh, it's 75 on, like, when you sign up, and they're like, oh no, it's actually 95 now.
Oh God.
That just changed it.
Oh dear. That does
But
not
I think
make it
that's
easier.
the classic comps that, expect the unexpected. What could go wrong or what could change, just expect that, and if it doesn't, then you're winning.
Yeah, 100%. And that was when the it's WEA now, isn't it? WEA GB UK,
Yep.
WEA GB
Yeah.
UK.
So that's what
Um,
it was back then. So BNSF in the Brit League, and then anything Europe World is the WEA, so the World Heavy Event Association.
yeah, yeah. Because they've changed now, haven't they? So that was originally, it was all the pathway through BNSF, but I'm not sure. I can't remember what the name is for the new federation now. Can you?
No, I
Oh
can't.
my God, I'll fact check it in a
And that's
second.
probably where, because UKNS has done so well to like bring up the tested league, that's kind of probably where I'll probably talk about it in the lows, but like knowing which comps to go to, like selection. And
Yeah,
that's where how much I really enjoyed the journey with BNSF and WEA. That's where UKNS is just another level right now, which is really exciting.
yeah, 100%. No, we'll definitely get into that because I want to talk about the differences. I was hoping that I would find what that thing was called. It's Jack Rennison's involved with it, isn't he? Oh God, what was it called? It was something GB, wasn't it? GB UK. I'll never be able to find this in this amount of time. I'll find out what it was anyway, because there is two natural federations, isn't there? But you've
Yes,
competed in untested and tested, haven't you?
yes.
As a
So I've
natural
always
athlete.
competed in both. So it was like the 100 CA promotions, that was always one England, and
Yeah.
then the BNSF, and then alongside then the UKNS when that came along a couple of years ago.
Yeah. There's so many federations now. It's ridiculous, I know. It's bloody ridiculous.
Good opportunities though.
Yeah, always increasing opportunities. I totally agree. I just think we could do with a little bit more structure, but beggars can't be choosers, I guess, at this point, can
One battle
they?
at a time.
Yeah, one battle at a time. We'll get there eventually. I also wanted to ask you as well about the physio and stuff. So I know you said you're
Yeah.
usually in the background. You've had some pretty cool physio opportunities as well over the years, haven't you? Because you've done the Commonwealth that you said before, haven't you?
Yep.
How was that? What were you physioing? Was it just for like overall Commonwealth or
No,
specific
so
teams?
it was the Commonwealth Youth Games for England netball, and this was the under 19. So that was Tobago 23.
Yeah,
Losing my sense of time. So yeah, every 6 years is where the youth games happen. So that's where it was getting to go out to that. Year before was just more of a development role for Team England, and that was the one in Birmingham. So it's nice to see all the, and I think this is back to, I say, different leagues. We're talking about the Olympics and Commonwealth Games. So back in 2012, I was a sports masseuse, and that's the year I qualified for Taekwondo for Olympics, and then the Paralympic Village for the Paralympics was in the village. So it was so exciting to see, get that exposure to what different countries are like, all the different sports. And that's kind of where I fell in love with sports physio and kind of all the opportunities.
Yeah.
And probably like strongman, that competition. So I was working at a Paralympic sport village, and that's how I started working with Great Britain Paralympic shooting, and ended up with them for 5 years as my first kind of national governing body sport. And it's just purely, I just spoke to the right person, the chatterbox that I am, and that's how these opportunities come about.
Yeah.
But I think that's the really
100%.
exciting part.
Yeah, 100%. I totally agree. I feel like within physio, like you have to obviously be a very good physio, but it's who you know. If you know the right people, you
Yeah.
can get into the right situations, can't you?
And little baby physio me, when I was a student, I was just like, how do I get into this? And everyone's like, you've just got to be in the right place. I was like, I don't like that answer because I can't do anything about it. And it's
Yeah.
so true.
Yeah, 100%. And I think as well, but that's a very good point to make. It's just getting yourself out there because, like, I'm at the beginning of my physio career now, and the amount of voluntary stuff I do is to the point of insanity. But I get so many opportunities from it,
Yeah.
like so many opportunities that are just handed to me because I'm in the right place at the right time.
And it's very quickly knowing your worth, because you don't want to volunteer forever. And that's where I know we've gone from strong. Oh no, that's strong woman. No, know your worth. We'll stick on that thing.
Yeah,
So that's where how much you want to volunteer and get out, but it's not to be taken advantage of. So many people now, they want like a young physio to volunteer for experience, but there's a time when you have to say, no, actually, I've got some skills behind me. I don't need to volunteer. If you want me, like, pay for my worth. And
yeah,
that's where it's that half, isn't it? Knowing like I really want to try this. Who's actually serious about wanting me as a person?
yeah.
Um, yeah,
Absolutely. But
know your
that's
worth.
how you got an opportunity with Chloe as well, and joined that stellar coaching team too.
Exactly. So again, it's who you know, what you know, and being bold and asking. If you don't know, you don't get.
Yeah,
So
100%.
no,
And how do you find doing the physio with holistic strength coaching? I assume will be completely strong woman, strong man based, is it?
not at all.
Oh,
We've got some people who just exercise for enjoyment. We've got almost endurance runners, rugby players. And obviously, strong man, strong woman is a very strong part of it. But there are some people that have like really exciting adventures, weird and wonderful things they want to do alongside lifting. So it's how can we help with that? And that's kind of the really exciting part. Like how many people, we call it back-to-back comps. They want to do this charity event, and that's what's really exciting, getting all these personalities and how do we get them to be the strongest, healthiest person. And some people, obviously, it's training to help with their mental health. Some of it is to have an escape or something different. And that's what I absolutely love about what Chloe's built at Holistic Strength, that we're not just churning out people that can lift heavier. We're looking at that whole person holistic. That what are you going to do with it? Do you feel like more beautiful, more powerful, whatever it is? And that's so exciting.
yeah. I think I really like the way that Chloe has set that up because it's so good having like an array of you guys as coaches and like a lot of you guys coming from like clinical places as well, so you can see where stuff has been lacking for a lot of people, like a lot of Gen Pop who are going to say NHS to try and get treatment, stuff like that.
Yeah.
But you and Chloe know that inside out, don't you? So you've almost like troubleshot all those problems to create like an absolute ultimate private service for it.
And even in private world, and I see it a lot. So I work in somewhat private at university as well as NHS. You see the difference. The NHS is so constricted. There's no provision out there, but it's almost knowing what to say, but then also demedicalizing.
Yeah,
How many times do you go to almost like a private physio and they make up some really fancy, long worded term, but it's like, you've got mechanical soreness, just your muscles are tight because you're working so hard, you're not sleeping, you're just living off caffeine. And
yeah,
it's going back to the real basics, and that's kind of what probably most of my practice is. When was the last time you actually did a stretch? Yes, you're really good at getting your steps in and lifting all the weight, but when did you actually just stretch?
yeah,
And that's again what's good, and what working with Chloe, we work very on the same wavelength. That we were talking about someone with back pain, and I was like, let's look at relaxation, and then she just said, oh, this is what I said, exactly the same thing. So it's
yeah.
really, really nice having kind of people that sing the same hymn.
Yeah, I love that. And I like that you can give like a really high level of experience and expertise in like basic understandings. You're focusing on everything about that person and you're not missing out on the basics, sleep, nutrition. Are you just like excited all the time? Do you need to just have a bit of a chill out? Because I feel like this is missed so much in strongman specifically,
Hmm.
especially with like injury prevention and injury rehab. People focus on like something ridiculous, like, oh, you've got quite a big anterior pelvic tilt. Have you tried
Oh,
fixing that? No. Do you sleep 8 hours a night? Probably not. Maybe
yeah.
start with that.
And it's one of those that like, oh, I'm going to try this supplement and then I'm going to try this funky move. And I said, rehab, isn't that, does it look like what you want to do? That is as much as rehab has to be. And
Yeah.
I've had some really like funky things that people have come, this is what they told me to do. And I'm like, could they do that? That'll be my question.
Yeah.
So I think years ago, I saw someone being told they had to do like a clean, but with only one plate on to be able to work on stability, and they were like a throwing athlete, and I'm like, I
Why?
don't even know, I can't even fathom
Why would you do
how.
that?
Yes, javelin's one-sided, but
Yeah, that
and
doesn't really make sense.
but there we go, that is what, back to basics and keep it simple. And that's what, same with strong woman training, it doesn't have to be really really fancy lifts. Sometimes more is less is better.
Yeah.
Sometimes actually just getting a good night's sleep and watching Netflix is actually a better recovery than X amount of time on the bike or killing yourself with a workout.
Yeah, 100%. I totally agree. I know when I had my bicep off and I got it back on and I had to rehab that, I like my entire rehab, the first 6 weeks was obviously your basics, really basics, just range of movement, getting the strength back in it a bit.
Isis.
And then my entire rehab was based around strongman movements. So sandbag picks off the floor, deadlifts, cleans, log cleans, and I just did them, but super light. Dropped it right back and did it as rehab, so that I was already drilling the events that I was going to have to do in the future, and my body was getting used to them again. And I think like that's just massively missed in strongman. Like why are you rehabbing and doing like an ollie lifting block? Why are you rehabbing and
Yeah.
doing something that's completely different from what you want to get back to that? Doesn't make sense.
And I think as well, it's actually like challenge your clinician. And that's why I always ask people, if you don't know why I'm asking you, tell me. Like, I'll explain why.
Yeah,
If you're scared about it, tell me. And that's kind of what I find a lot of people, they're like, oh, they gave me this, but I don't know what to do with it. Or, it just hurt. Well,
yeah,
did you tell them? Or, what do
yeah,
you actually want? And I'll actually say to people, what is the goal? What is the end goal? Let's work 3 steps back from that.
yeah.
Exactly. You want to be in strongwoman. Well, it should look like strongwoman.
Yeah, yeah, 100%. I love that, and I do a very similar thing. So every like, obviously, I don't see my own patients yet, but eventually, when I do,
Not
my
long.
not yet. My initial like in all my placements, I'll always start with like, what are our goals? What do we want to get back to? What do you want from me? What are you expecting from me? Because that's the whole point, really, of physio is to be that person centered care.
And I actually had a patient yesterday in her 50s, and she's like, I just want to squat. But I got told I'm 50 and I shouldn't squat. I'm like, why not?
Why?
Let's do it.
Yeah.
Absolutely love this person. And I just said, like, why can't we just do a high squat and then work down? She's like, oh, you can do that. Yeah.
Absolutely, we can.
So
Let's
that's
go.
what's really exciting. Sometimes it's just breaking that, it's safe to lift. Like, there's nothing stopping you. If you want to lift your grandkid, all right, we're going to work on that. That's
Yeah.
what's the starting weight.
Yeah, 100%. How big's your grandkid?
Yeah.
Let's go. Get some sandbags. No, I love that. I think that's really cool. So good. I love a bit of physio chat, me. Love a bit of physio chat.
Hopefully we haven't lost people at this point. Physios are
Nah,
cool.
I think like I'm obviously planning on doing a little bit of a setup into Strong Woman once I'm finally qualified, but I do think there's a massive gap in like just sensible, good physio in strongman. There is some really good physios already out there in strongman, but a lot of it gets drowned out usually by just strongman coaches who have absolutely
Yeah.
zero qualifications at all.
And I think if anything, I think women are probably a lot better than men, but I might be stereotyping, is actually starting to identify things early. Like if I've got a weakness that I noticed, at competitions, my hamstrings are always sore, what can I do about it? And I think
Yeah,
that's where we get the message out that, you don't have to be broken to see physio. You don't have to be broken to end up And kind of that's where at holistic we're quite good at. I've got a niggle, I'm struggling to progress this. Well, let's look at it now before we wait for a breaking point.
Yeah,
And that's
absolutely.
hopefully having more people like yourself, specifically in strongman or strongman, is getting that message out. So how can we make you even better, especially in this excelling sport? That now it's all about these 1% gains. If
Yeah.
that one niggle injury, that's what's going to take your podium potentially. What can we do about it now?
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, I totally agree. I love that. That's mint. Well, if anyone needs any physio advice, then you're the girl, aren't you? You're the girl.
And so are you. Dream team. We've got the
Eventually,
North and the Midlands covered.
give me a few more months, and give me till June, and hopefully I'll be there. Cool stuff. Right, let's move on then. What has been your strong woman low?
So back in 22, I was having what I'd say the best season of ever. So this is where I'm gonna contradict myself later, and I'll admit that now. But this is where kind of more is not always better. So that is kind of the summary of the story. So back in 22, I ended up doing every pathway I could because one, I had the fear that I might not qualify for one. So obviously, I think the hard part with this sport is you almost have one round and then almost you're out. So the panic was if I tried England's UKNS, what if I didn't make it through to the next stage?
Yeah.
Then that's me done by March or April.
Yeah.
So I was fortunate. I qualified in July. I did 4 competitions in a month. So I had 3 back-to-back with descending weight classes. So I had England under 82 with the GOAT Donna Moore. She did a bicep and still obviously smashed it.
Yeah.
The next week I had the BNSF Britons under 75. And then the week after that, the OSG qualifier under 73.
Oh my God.
Because of BNSF qualified for Europe's, which was, I had one weekend off and then a competition. So under 75. So that was really exciting. And, you know, I'm proud. I managed 3 wins out of 4 competitions. So I can't really complain about that. I made every weight class.
Amazing.
Then OSG happened because luckily I won and then made it to OSG as one of the big goals. And obviously this might be surprising, but I think I hit a wall. So that year I did 11 competitions overall with 7 weight cuts. And so I've been very fortunate. I've made every one, but obviously there are some water loads, there were some depletions that happened, which we do not condone or we do not encourage, but that is where my body was like, what are you doing, woman? And I think I just hit a wall, and by September, October time, so I think this was the hurricane year for OSG. I think I was like end of November time.
Yeah.
I remember I was just like, I can't get in the gym. What if I fail? What if I can't do it? And we all have the sessions where, you know, you warm up and you can't even do it. And I think I had lots of sessions like that. I had the panic of going in the gym. So sat outside of my car thinking, what if I go in and I fail? If I could just sit in my car, maybe that'll be better. Yeah. And I missed so many sessions, just the fear of going in the gym. And then the classic, do I even bother going out? We're spending all this money to fly to America for me to just no rep everything. And that was just the big fear. Yeah. We then obviously had a hurricane, got out there, and it wasn't just me. Everyone was in the same position, you as well, that we suddenly went from a 2-day competition to having 4 events over 13 hours. Yeah. That broke me. Yeah. I think that roller coaster of having Viking first, so there was that massive high adrenaline. Oh my God, it's my first event at OSG.
Yeah.
No rep that. So did 50% of our group, especially, I think it was all girls.
I think majority 50%. Of all girls, yeah. It was a high majority, no rep, that Viking press.
Oh, and then we had farmers, which ended up being changed from 2 weights, where I was like, I've definitely got the first weight. The second weight, I think for us was like 100 into 110.
Yeah, and it went to just I know I've got 100. One.
Yeah, so it's just the heavier one. So I was like, okay, well, we went on this other roller coaster of adrenaline. And to be fair, it was a PB, but obviously going straight from what you thought was a guaranteed half. Yeah. And then the deadlift came, and I was like, that is my event. I've got this. I got to the bar and gravity was strong. Nothing happened. What was it, like hour 13? I was like, I've got nothing to give. Yeah. And that sandbag, I just got splattered by it. And I think since then, that like I now have like the OSG fear that if suddenly, you know, when you start to get fatigued, I'm like, oh God, maybe I just don't go in the gym. Maybe I just sit in the car park. Maybe it's just fun to play Sudoku in my car instead of actually training. So I would
Yeah.
say that is my strong woman low of almost being so scared. But then on reflection, you can see I was knackered that year, and that, going on this roller coaster of training, and then probably wasn't in the best prep to, what are these eventualities that could happen.
Yeah.
And that's where Alexandra Alexa has been really good about mindset of actually the what ifs.
Yeah.
And that's probably what's really helped. And even though it's a strong woman low of kind of OSG, what I thought was my pinnacle, and I absolutely ballsed it up for a better word, um, that's where, what do we learn from it? And that's where I think my other like mini low was UKNS recently. I just went in such a little black cloud. I've never cried so much at a competition before, but I was just like, oh my God, it's OSG again. But
Oh no.
yeah, I think I spoke to you just after I had another breakdown because of those bloody rubber balls. But the learning is, one, it's trying to say it because it happens. Not all of us have like brilliant days. Competitions don't always go to plan, but
Hmm.
what can we do to move from it, and why do we do the sport?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, 100%. I think it's really interesting as well that you're talking about like the fear of failing in the gym. And I think it sounds like a lot of that was just complete and utter burnout. Like it was probably just your body being like, nah, mate, no more.
Stop it.
Please stop. This is too much pressure to withhold for this amount of time.
And I think that's where probably a lot of people might resonate with it, because the sport is progressing so much. And, you've talked about it in other episodes as well, that actually, can we all adapt as quickly as the competition's adapting? Do we need to be more specific with our selection so that our bodies aren't going into this burnout?
Yeah, absolutely. I think this is just a good general point as well. I know I talk about it to a lot of people, and it's almost like it gets discussed a lot in chronic pain, and you'll have heard this, the spoons, the bloody spoons, where you have a set number of spoons. I do
Yeah.
this, and I use this for myself all the time. Like, I have a set number of spoons through the day. Each specific task is going to take spoons away from me. If I get to the end of the day and I've got no spoons, I'm going to be fucking bollocksed. And if you do that day in, day out, consistently for months, which is what we do. Like, we do massive comp preps, we do 8 to 12 weeks, we do a comp, we do another comp, we do another comp, we have another one in 8 weeks.
Oh,
But
and we work on top of that.
and then we work on top of that, yeah. And you get into a period of like 6 to 8 months where you haven't stopped, and you think, I can't keep doing this. Like, this is, and then all of a sudden you're like, why do I feel like shit all the time? Oh my God, I hate my life. It's terrible. And you're like, why? Because everything's so nice. Why is everything so shit? And you're like, the burnout. That's
Yeah.
why.
And
So,
that's, yeah, it's one of those, it's a low, but that's where I always think these lows is what you learn from it. What do you take from it? Not to stay, what goes down must come up, but what are we going to do about it?
absolutely, absolutely. So, what have you put in place then? What's sort of your like? What's your plan to avoid burnout now?
So I have massively changed. I'm a bit of a workaholic. I'll admit that. My name is Desi. But that's where I've changed my job structure so much. I love my job, but that's where I have, I think, 3 jobs at the minute, 3 or 4.
Oh
But
God.
and it's because they all blend in, because I just enjoy it. So working for the university in like a sports med type role, I then work obviously with Chloe, and then I work as a manager for occupational therapists in like GP practice, and I just love it all, and I just can't not do one of them. But I ended up changing that work structure around, so kind of reducing my NHS clinical hours to do more sport, because actually now, like, I'm finishing at 3 o'clock so that I can train and have an afternoon to myself, which has been magical.
Yeah.
I think it's going back into competitions. So I have got Chaos this weekend, so really excited. And my big goal is, like, I'm gonna make sure I get my hair done, because that's what I used to always do, is curl my hair and look fabulous, because I always felt good, and that's what I could probably tell at UKNS. I was like, I didn't do my hair. I look like a right scruff bag. I managed some like sparkly eyeshadow, and that was about it. And I was like, no, that is where we're going to change that mindset going in. It is a day to have fun. Like, why did I do the sport? And it's because, like, the people are amazing. You're there to, not be at work and enjoy lifting random objects sometimes.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's kind of the big changes I made. Is one, change my work pattern to where can I get rest, but
Hmm.
also why am I going into competition?
Yeah. Yeah, 100%. I think that's just I like that a lot because I know I've spoke about this on multiple episodes that if you're doing a comp prep and you're not enjoying the comp prep, you're not going to enjoy the competition. And like I've had to learn it the hard way. I feel like everyone has to learn it the hard way, so you have to just go through it. Unfortunately,
Start
no
from
one,
the low to get to the high.
yeah, no one will listen to this advice because you have to do it to know. But if you're in that phase at the moment and you're thinking, I hate this prep, I hate this comp, I'm like planning on doing, just get it done, do it, learn from it, don't do it again. That's like the only advice that I can give.
It's sitting in the car park versus going in the gym. Depending if that your time scale, that's your marker that you're heading that way.
Yeah, if you start driving to the gym and thinking Sudoku's feeling funner than going and training, you've hit it. You're there. Awesome. Right. Well, quickly then, can we talk about the anti-doping stuff as well? So I know we briefly
Hit
mentioned it
me.
before, but I'd love to go into it. So I know that I just still don't know the name of this other, I think it's like Weird GB UK or something like that they've gone for. But
That
they're
makes
the
sense.
ones that are following on from BNSF.
Yeah.
So BNSF is the natural federation that is WADA tested, and that's the same testing that is in the Olympics, etc., the actual proper drug testing. So, can you explain why UKNS is not the same?
Can I explain why it's not? So
I'll put you
that
on
is
the
a
spot.
loaded question. Um, So at the minute, obviously, the WADA standards, there are so many hoops that you need to go through. And I think cost is always going to be a massive part. And I think we're going in the right direction. Like on UKNS website now, I can see that they've made changes to the rulings, that there are some of the anti-doping violations. So there are 11 violations, and that's where 7 can be committed by all staff and 4 just by athletes
Yeah.
alone. And that's where I know that he's mentioned or they've mentioned some of them already. So I think it's going in the right direction, but it's not as easy. I think the nature of strongman, because yes, it derived from the circus, and that's why there are the tested and untested leagues. Like
Yeah.
when I go work in NGB sports, they're like, "What do you mean it's tested and untested?" Like,
Yeah.
um, so yeah, I think that's where it's going in the right direction, but there is probably a lot more hoops to go for. You might miss out on a lot of people. So be it, the association side that, any yeah, probably the association side is going to be one of the bigger ones where people might fall in, and strongman, the environment it is.
Yeah.
And that's where I'm being very careful with my words. I think that's where it's
Basically,
going to take time.
I'll say it. If you take drugs and you use drugs, you can't then run a drug tested federation under WADA. That's just how it works. Part of the rules. So I
That's
think.
not where I was going, but it's even like who
Ooh.
you train with. So if you're in a gym,
Ooh.
that is where that is still association.
Well, adding on to that then, interesting.
Um,
So I know that UKNS, they obviously aren't with WADA. They do their own
yeah,
private testing, I would
yes,
assume.
and it's
Um,
having a look at what they're testing. So if with the other sports, like there are some things that get tested for everyone. So be it like recreational drugs, everyone gets tested because that's about health.
yeah.
Then there are other kind of subsections. So it'll be about weight loss, given that we're in a weight cut sport, and obviously you're more steroid, anabolic type steroids. That category about gaining strength.
Hmm.
But like when I used to work with Paralympic shooting, there's a section all about stimulants. Well, they're not really going to test for that in a sport that you're trying to actually decrease your heart rate, not raise it.
Yeah.
So that's probably where the difference is at the minute. They're only testing for, I think, just steroids,
Yeah.
which is a very small subsection compared to if you look at if anyone's bored at night and can't sleep, read the 1st of January, the list of drugs that you can't take go out.
Yeah, 100%. I think, from what I understand, is that there is a list of banned substances for UKNS now, but it is
Yeah,
mainly just anabolic steroids.
yeah.
Because I know that I've previously asked about like peptides and stuff like that to UKNS, and while they do say it is banned, I don't think they have any way to test for it in the current testing circumstances that they have. And I know that they aren't testing for recreational drugs either. Some recreational drugs, I know they do for
Hmm.
some. Um, But I think the reason that they tried to do it like that is to make it more accessible for strong like men and women in the first instance, because obviously if you go straight into the WADA route, there's if you have an inhaler, you've got to get a medical exemption for it, like that sort of
Oh,
stuff, haven't you? Which is
that was a
all
bit of the bane of my life. I really had to bite my tongue in that era.
all drama, but and which is rightly so. Like if you're in a tested sport and you need to prove it, you should already have those medical exemptions in place, in my mind. But
It's not even the exemption, so that's actually the therapeutic use exemption. You don't, it depends what league you train at. So if you are the Olympic team, you will have one already.
yeah,
Generally, the performance team, so even at like GB Sports, they won't have one straight away. They'll know that they'll need one, but if
yeah,
something happens, they'll say, I will test for this. And that means you won't, they're not going to ban you if you're already saying, so I have an inhaler and I know, so on a website called Global Dro, you can actually download that you've checked it. I know if I take more than 8 puffs, that's in a 24 hours, it will show up. If I
yeah,
did that and a competition tested me, I'll just say, I've got this. And at no point could they then put a ban. But I think that's where it comes to the education side, that in strongman, in NGB sports, every year I have to sit through the same training of how do you test? How do you make sure that every time you get Sudafed, you check it on an app and you download your PDF?
yeah.
But I think that's where it's not, that's why I say I bite my tongue, because, if you don't know, you don't know. But actually, people made a big deal when actually it's quite rightly, inhalers are banned if you take it to a certain dose.
Yeah,
But
100%.
what are we doing in the sport to educate people that this is how you check it, this is what you do?
Yeah,
And I think that's the big difference in kind of your Olympic Commonwealth sports. It is drilled into you from the day you're on a performance program.
yeah, yeah, 100%. And I think that's the biggest issue with both these federations and their drug testing, is that there's just not a lot of information or education around like those drug testing policies specifically.
So in Weigher now, when you get your membership, you have to watch the videos. So that is the difference for that one. But I've not done that league in about 2 years now. But I
Yeah,
know the last time I signed up, you had to watch the videos,
yeah,
which then proves to them. Whereas I think that's kind of, in my opinion, with UKNS, that will be the next level. How do we provide education? So when you buy your license, you have to watch it, and then you can't come back and say, "Well, I didn't know my inhaler would get me banned."
yeah, yeah, 100%. I think what UKNS is doing is really good. Like I'd never knock them, because and I've competed in that federation. I've never competed in BNSF, but I've competed in the UKNS, and I do think they get in there. It's just, again, it's just the education side of it, isn't it? But I think it's a lot of people who don't really know anything about it, just trying to work it out, which is like, and that's not a dig at anybody running it. That's just a case of, like, if I started it, I wouldn't have any clue. Like, you just got to work it out, haven't you? But it's not a particularly easy thing to work out.
No, and I think Annabelle said it, is that we can't make big changes all at once. What are
Yeah,
the little changes that we make? So we've actually made a tested league. So that is step one.
yeah,
Now we're up in the game, and that's year on here. So I think it's only the fourth year that it's been in place. I
yeah. I
think
think
third.
this is
I've got third year in my head.
yeah,
So we can't expect, the big changes to happen, but it's getting there. So that's what's really exciting. And to me, UKNS, the Masters, that's just happened. Amazing comp, and giving so many people opportunities, putting the weight classes in the age categories as well.
yeah.
I think they're onto a winner.
Yeah, I do as well. I can't see it failing, to be honest. And I do think, because I'm sure I've spoke to the lads before, and their plan is eventually to do the WADA testing. I'm not sure whether that's still the same plan, because that was maybe a year ago I had this conversation, but the plan was always to get to that WADA level. But the reason it started this way was to give people the opportunity, because how many people do you know who are in strongman who just go in and are like, oh, Anavar, oh, I'll give that a go. Might as well try it. And they don't even know what they're taking or what they're doing, which again is why there's like the 2-3 year clean, like, and you
Yeah.
can still compete in it, which I get, and I get why people don't like that. But I do think that's a good thing for UKNS. I do think they needed to do it that way, instead of just be like, right, it's WADA and it's lifetime, Natty, or
But it
else.
would have been years to get that in place. It's not a quick, or I'll put an application and whanner, here we are.
Yeah,
So we've got to start somewhere. So I think that's where they're doing the right thing, and it will get stricter and stricter the more that we learn about it. and without sounding like an old lady, that actually we're doing so much more on social media now that at the very beginning, so I'd say kind of 2020 is when, social media is more that outlet for information. Like, how often do people learn on TikTok now compared to
Yeah.
actually, I just know this because this is what I get taught when I sign up for an event. No,
Yeah.
you do it because you saw someone post about it, or use Chloe, influential, like a known natural athlete.
Mm-hmm.
She can share information, or other people. That's how we're going to get the message out.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. Yeah. I love that. Anything else you want to add for anti-doping? Any other bugs to bear with your
Don't
anti-doping?
do drugs. Stay
Don't
natty.
don't do drugs.
Who first?
Well, it's one of them, isn't it? I'm not for or against. I'm a grey area. My favourite thing
Check
to
your
do.
inhalers
Yeah,
and Sudafed while you're at it.
yeah. Check your Nurofen. Perfect. So, right then, let's do. What would you tell yourself then when you first started the sport?
So this is where I'm going to contradict myself. So I wish I competed more when I started because, and saying that, my strong and low is because I competed too much. Let's find balance in life. I wish I was so scared to go and do a comp. So I remember I did one at the place where I just learned to lift the stone, and they had like a local. So that's where I tried it. But I had so many fails. So, and that's where I guess we all learn. So I did farmers, and I got told to do a split stance, and I hit the floor. I went arse over tit, and I was like, oh my God, how can I do it again if I fall over and trip over my own farmers? Log, the one that when you drop it, it bounces off, and I go chasing logs. And I was like, I can't compete again. I have to get better at this before I can go out. And I really feel like I've missed out on so much. The community, like now, it's not a scary place. Everyone is so nice. You make a mistake, and they'll be like, oh, this is what you do. I'll cheer you on.
Yeah.
So that's probably what I would tell my younger self is just get out there and do them. If you fail, you fail. Someone will tell you what to do better next time.
Yeah.
And that's kind of why I love comps, and why Moody Desi at UKNS. It annoyed me that there are some new people out there, and I wasn't as, I would say, helpful being the old lady now. I feel like I could have been more, and that's where I'm having a word with myself for the weekend. That's what it's about. Is you hand over your chalk when someone forgets it, or so that is my lesson. Do more comps, but not too many.
Yeah.
Balance.
I love that. I think that's an important point though, because I also agree. I think if you're in your first year of competing, compete as many times as you possibly can, because this is when there's no pressure on you whatsoever. There's no pressure to do well. No one knows who you
or
are.
Weight cut.
Yeah, you're not weight cutting, or you're hopefully not. You better not be in your first year. Like I did that and I was stupid. Learn from me. But yeah, I think get all those comps out of the way, because the more comp experience you can get in that first year, the better. And then when you actually do start to put a bit more time and effort into your preps, and it takes a toll on your body, then pick your specific competitions that you want to do well at. And like, you can't really fail that way, can you?
And it's how you get to try new kit, and it's how you get to, you see, like, as I said, I tripped over the farmers. I think people were like, oh, that was a silly thing to do. I won't do that next time. So that is how you learn. And, what happens on the day when the stone height changes or your weight suddenly gets 20 kilos heavier, it's getting used to that could happen. And I think that's that experience, that comp experience. All right, this is what you do. What would I do at that point? All right, you just accept it, because there's no point moaning and bitching about it. What is that really going to achieve?
100%.
And why are you going? So is it that every time I've gone to a comp, I've had that lovely feeling of, we ended up sharing accommodation, and that to me is the comp experience.
Yeah.
And then just having a good day at England's because you had social the night before, and that is the big experience. So go find your friends, go find your strong community, enjoy it.
Absolutely, I love that. That's such a good advice. I don't want to add anything on to that, because I think we should just leave it with that. That was great. Absolute a gem of information. That.
And check your inhaler.
Check your fucking inhalers. Anybody with any inhaler queries, head to Desi. She knows
Send me a message and I'll tell you how you check them.
Perfect. Right, let's move on then to everyone's favourite part, the silly goose.
Silly goose. It's silly goose time, where our lips get loose and our minds run free. Silly goose. It's silly goose time, where we chat a load of shit that's of absolutely no use. It's silly goose time.
Do you have any silly gooses to bring to the table?
Yes.
Oh, exciting.
So, obviously, I'm going to stick on my theme of kind of Olympic or Commonwealth sports. So, it's almost like a snog, marry, avoid. So, what is the event you're going to absolutely smash? You're going in and getting the gold.
Right.
What is the event you're avoiding because something really, really bad's going to happen? Either you embarrass yourself or imminent injuries.
Yeah.
And then the event you're going to have a really good crack at. So it could be any competition across the eras, because I know, different sports come in and out. So breakdancing was really only Paris, probably not coming back.
Yeah.
So
no.
you've got an assortment. So go.
Right. I think something that I would be really good at is Olympic sport. I'm not very good at any Olympic sports, to be honest. I think I'd be probably pretty good at like the shooting. I think I'd be pretty good at that. They're like
So pistol, rifle, or shotgun.
rifle every day of the week.
And what you're gonna do? Prone, stand. You're talking. This was my physio life. Standing, prone.
Prone, definitely, for sure. I'm not bad standing, but I'm definitely more accurate prone because I can calm myself down like nice enough. Like.
So you're getting straight to the gold for that.
Yeah, no, I feel like that would be something that I could put my mind to. I could do a bit of training. I'd probably be pretty decent at that. The one that I would avoid at all costs would be breakdancing because I would be that Australian girl who got the shit ripped out of her. Who was my favourite person ever, Ray Gunn. Like, she amazing. I love her. I would hate to have been in that situation, though. My huge ego could not have dealt with it. So I would avoid that like the plague. And then the one I would like to have a go at and like absolutely like balls to the wall smash, skateboarding. But this is just because I really want to be good at skateboarding, but I'm too scared now. I'm too scared. I've gone past that point of being able to like try skateboarding, and I'm too far over the hill of like I'm old now and I'm never going to try it.
You've got fear of consequence.
Yeah, absolutely. Like I've not got enough fear of consequence because I still do really stupid stuff, but I have enough fear of confidence for skateboarding where I'd be like, nah, I'm going to die doing this.
What about BMX?
I also feel that way about BMX. I feel like I'd be terrified. I'm not great at riding a bike, to be honest, unless it's a motorbike, and then I'm all right.
And how do you think you'd fare? What is it? Oh, in the pool. What do they call it? The dancing in the pool.
Ooh, I know what you mean. I can't remember what the word is.
Artistic? No, maybe not.
No, it is something.
I can't think.
I'll Google it.
But in my head, that's where I don't know why I went straight to that with you, thinking that you had some flair underwater.
To be fair, actually, I probably would. I used to do freestyle disco dancing. It's loads of aqua dancing videos. This isn't helping me.
And why would you avoid breakdancing then?
Because I'm not good at breakdancing. Like, I'm absolutely not. Oh, it just says pool Olympics. Artistic swimming. I think I could get away with artistic swimming. Oh no, have I lost you? Oh no, you're still here. I thought I was going to lose you.
No, we're still here.
Yeah, I think I'd be alright at artistic swimming because I feel like the water would hide a lot of my like bad bits, and I would be able to like if I did it wrong, I'd be in the water, so you wouldn't really notice, hopefully. But the breakdancing, especially, I think it was more that the stage that they had it set up on, where it's like the Colosseum almost, and everyone was sat up around it. Like, I would hate that. Absolutely hate that. And just someone watching me dance, like. Nah, at least even when I was doing freestyle disco dancing, like I never got to the point where I had to do solos. Like I was always just dancing in the groups. Like I was doing my own routine, but there was a lot of other people doing their routines at the same time. So I wasn't like out on my own.
I found a whole other side to you at this. I feel like I'm going to have to see this in person.
Freestyle disco dancing. Every now and then I'll post some pictures of me doing it on Instagram as a little bit of a throwback, and it is wild. I look crazy. Absolutely.
I'll send you a song. I would like a video in freestyle. Go.
In freestyle. It's honestly, I don't think I could do it now. Like looking back I've watched videos of me doing it when I was a kid, and I'm like, what the fuck?
I need to stretch first. Ooh.
Oh, honestly, the only good thing that it has given me is that I do have a general quite good level of flexibility, and that has carried over to my now Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu training, which has served me well because, like most people in strongman, immobile, aren't they? People love to be immobile in strongman, but that little bit of flexibility, especially in BJJ, makes a good amount of difference. But anyway, what would your Olympic events be then? Come on.
So I used to be a horse rider, so I'm going to go in with the right, like, we'll go in equestrian, show jumping. That was kind of my era. I think I would avoid swimming at all cost because I've not worked out the breathing underwater. That is imminent death. But what would I like a good crack at? I really want to do gymnastics. I feel like maybe not the floor. I think the floor is I've got no coordination to speak of, which probably doesn't bode well for any of the other events. But I feel like the brute strength could come in at some point on one of the implements.
Yeah, like the bars. I feel like I've got that like inflated self like idea where I think I could do the bars and I would be good at it. But I know I wouldn't. But in my head, if I got a couple of them bars and I was able to practice, I think I'd be all right at that.
But this is where, as I said, I keep getting, the reminder pictures on Facebook. So with Taekwondo, we had a go with the suits. And I remember being like, oh, yeah, I can do a kick. Oh, look at me. And then a doctor came over and was like, that is how you're going to do your ACL. Cool. So this is not my sport either.
No, don't do that. No, thanks.
So, yeah, I'd like to do gymnastics because I feel like it would be fun. But then I realised I've got the bounce on the peanuts. I can't even walk on, the curvy bit. Without falling off it. So I don't know if that'll bode well, but we need to train a little bit. But yeah, there we go. There'll be my three.
No, I like them. Yeah. I think they're really good. The horse one, never. I'm terrified of horses. Really scared.
I used to have a chestnut mare, which is like the nut jobs of horses. And actually, I just had a connection. So clearly, if I had a whack job horse, I'd probably do better than the show pony.
Nah, it's not for me. We've been watching Yellowstone recently, and it's really wanted me to be a cowboy, but then I'm also just a bit like, it requires me to be near horses, and that is just a no-go immediately.
Work hazard.
Yeah, I feel like there's just too many risks involved with a horse. It's too big of an animal, isn't it? If that horse kicks off, what am I doing now? I'm dying. That's what I'm doing.
I work in the NHS. People kick off. A horse is no problem anymore.
Yeah, to be fair, angry
Try
patient.
me.
Angry
A
patient
horse won't
versus
talk back.
horse. Well, speaking then, this was my silly goose for you, and it's very physio based. You're going to hate it. What's your favourite outcome measure?
Outcome measure.
You can have
confidence.
Anyone you want. Ooh,
confidence.
Would you do it out of 10?
No. No, I would. I'd say, how much do you worry about your X body part when you do? So if I want a deadlift, how much do you think about your back? How confident do you feel? How easy was the rep? So that is my favourite outcome, is actually what do they want out of it? It's to deadlift.
You've spat that back round on me there. I thought I was gonna get you, but nah.
I get it every day. So, for example, I'll make it physio again. Like ACLs, we do like a very standardised tool of how ready do you feel to go back to your sport. And it's all like, how much do you think about your knee? Are you worried it was going to go again? So that's kind of what I say to everyone. Like, what do you want to get back to? And I say to people, like, if you've injured I'll go netball because that's what I've worked in for years. I did my ACL by going up and back and getting in a ball. So I will practice that 1,000 times until they're not bothered about it. Yeah. So that is that confidence again. So I'm a nag, and I accept that. And I tell people at the beginning of their rehab journeys, especially big ones, you will hate me at some point, but eventually you'll like me. Yeah. But just accept, we're going to have a little rough patch. Yeah. But yeah, so that is it. That is my outcome measure, is someone is confident to get back to what they want to.
Oh, I love that. No, that's a great outcome measure. Not one that I was even thinking of either as well. So
it's research evidence by Desi Gillespie.
Desi Gillespie 2025.
Yep.
Lovely. Right. Anything else to add then, finally, for the podcast? If people want to get in touch with you, if people want to work with you, how do they do that?
So Desi Rascal G is my Instagram. That's probably the best thing, and where you'll see a lot of kind of the content on holistic strength coaching. So on Instagram, that's where a lot of Chloe puts a lot of our teaching and resources. If people want more resources in terms of, I do a lot of teaching with the Power Up Project, as well as the ones that are actually on full coaching, and that's where we go through absolutely everything of every pathology of every body part and what you can do, how to make it simple. From young athletes all the way to arthritic, everyone can do sport. Age is not a problem. Injuries are not a problem. It's just how finding the right person to resonate with.
Yeah, love that. Absolutely love that. Well, on that note, we'll call it there, I think.
Stay strong.
Thank you very much for being on the podcast, Desi. It has been a pleasure, and we will see you all next time. Goodbye. Bye. Thanks for listening to this episode of Strong Woman Highs, and I hope you enjoyed it. If you want to support the podcast, then please give us a follow on Instagram. Or if you would like, we're also on buymeacoffee.com/strongwomanhighs. This is where you can send us tips, or you can also join our membership area, which is $5 a month or £4 a month. It's the silly gosling level. We'll post out any extra content that we get on there, and hopefully a few little free giveaways of things as well. The podcast currently doesn't cost a lot to run, which is what we're trying to keep it as, but we would like to be able to cover our costs, and also once those costs are covered, any profit that is made on Strong Woman Highs will be getting saved up and put into a pot for future Strong Woman competitions that we can sponsor. So if you have a Strong Woman competition that you'd like to be sponsored, or if you want to be on the podcast, then give us a shout, send me a message on Instagram or on YouTube, anywhere else you can get us, and we'll get it sorted, because the more women that we can get on, the better. Thanks for listening and watching. Bye!